Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for coming to Comedy on Vinyl this week. We have a very special guest this week, Jordan Morris. You probably know him as the co-host of Jordan Jesse Go, or from Fuel TV. He was kind enough to stop by and talk about They Might Be Giants' Flood. Before we get to the episode, though, I want to make sure that you know where to find him. First of all, on Twitter, he's at Jordan_Morris. Also, find him on MaximumFun.org. That's where you can find Jordan Jesse Go, which is his podcast with Jesse Thorne. He is also the writer on a new Maximum Fun podcast called International Waters. It's a game show. Hopefully they'll have some more episodes up soon. He's also in Up, 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 which is a sketch group over at UCB. So if you're in Los Angeles and you want to check that out, go to losangeles.ucbtheater.com and look up those shows. So again, a very big thank you to Jordan Morris, and please enjoy this episode.
Minimum wage! Yeah!
Starting over?
What do you mean?
This is it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Starting over. This is
yeah.
So welcome to
just warm up. We got loose.
Oh, it's nice. Well, welcome to Comedy on Vinyl, everybody. This
I
week.
want some beer.
Oh, I do, quite frankly. You want a beer? Anybody?
Do we have
Water?
some?
We have beer.
We have some, right?
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'll take one.
have beer.
Yeah, let's do this.
Don't run over.
This is embarrassing.
Hey, it's tech.
Yeah, it's
Happens.
Yeah, I know. Whatever. This week, Jen is here, but she's in the next room. Mike is here.
Yes.
And Jordan Morris is here.
Hi, guys.
And Jordan's been kind enough to stick around for the last 20 minutes while we talked and got ready. You know, we rehearsed. That's what we had. That was a rehearsal. We're going to be talking about They Might Be Giants' Flood this week, and we talked about... Let's
Are we the only podcast that rehearses a full episode before we do it?
Yeah, we're professionals.
Do you guys rehearse a full episode before you do your shows?
No, well, we don't. We don't rehearse Jordan Jesse Go beforehand, but that's probably why it's bad. So I think this is. I think we're gonna find that this is gonna go super smooth, and I'm gonna go ahead and steal your rehearsal idea for future podcasts.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Just turn the mics off the whole time. For the first 20 minutes, everybody's loose. They're good. Beer's coming. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning then. Why you were a little reticent to pick They Might Be Giants because it's not a strictly comedy album.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think They Might Be Giants fans all have a little bit of self-consciousness in them because people who don't know the band, who may know some of their hits, who maybe know Istanbul, Not Constantinople, and Particle Man and stuff like that, if that's all you know of They Might Be Giants, you maybe just think they're a novelty band.
Sure.
Like, if someone said They Might Be Giants is my favorite band and you didn't know it, it would be like an adult saying, "Oh, my favorite band is Weird Al," or Alan Sherman who recorded "Hello Mudda, Hello Fada." I think fans, regard them as a really smart, really clever,
philosophical.
Yeah, absolutely, a group. But I think that is something that the casual fan doesn't get.
Sure.
So I was definitely a little bit worried because this podcast is about comedy albums.
Yeah.
Kind of labeling it as a comedy album, but I think it's it is funny enough and is widely liked in the comedy community. So
Sure.
I thought it would be fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover with them. I mean, I think it's okay if it's a funny album. There are plenty of like Queen makes funny albums, at least to me. They're most of what they do is funny because they're very
awesome.
self-conscious. Of course, it's brilliant, but it's really self-conscious, and they're like they know who they are. They're very confident in their in their music and their lyrics. And let's talk about the first time you heard this album.
Yeah, absolutely. This was it was freshman year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Joey Hurley made me a cassette tape, and Joey Hurley was an interesting character to me. He was a guy who I was in drama club with, and he had an older brother who was also who was a geek, but an older brother. He kind of I feel like there's the geek stuff of a generation, and then there is the just kind of geek canon.
Sure.
That includes Doctor Who,
Right.
Star Trek, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And I think They Might Be Giants is kind of in that canon.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's important to have an older geek saying, like,
to lead the way for you.
hey, I know it's 1996 and you kids are into ska now,
Right.
but here is something lasting.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I remember getting that tape, and I was still kind of figuring out what music to be into. And as I mentioned, I was into ska music because that was what a goofy kid liked at the time.
Of course.
But it was nice because even I liked it so much because it wasn't dark and it wasn't sentimental. Like, it was goofy and fun, which was kind of more who I was.
Sure.
I was not a kid who had a lot of feelings. If you showed me a card with someone having an emotion, I could not identify that emotion.
I don't know. They look funny. They're making a face.
Yeah, they're making a face. Yeah, they're probably hungry. So as a kid who never connected much to music about love or like the angst of like a Soundgarden or Nirvana, which was also an option that was presented to me.
Right.
Like, I connected to stuff that was more goofy and fun, but it was nice to have They Might Be Giants who were actually singing about something, and they were intelligent and a little bit dark. So it was nice to have something like that. So
Did it feel weird to you? I know it did to me a little bit to not. I same way I was not into Nirvana at all.
Yeah,
and
me either.
any of that stuff, and I didn't get it, and to the point where I think I started trying to actively hate it because I knew I didn't like it, so I wanted to make sure I never liked it, which has changed. I would say in recent years where I can appreciate it, but I mean. Yeah, again, Mike, how were you socially... I know you were socially awkward. You were socially retarded.
Mine was completely opposite.
I think if you are hosting a podcast, it's kind of a given.
Okay, thank you.
I had rejected...
In a house with 3 cats.
Not a lot of fuck machines getting the podcast there.
I had rejected that They Might Be
To
Giants.
be fair, you guys seem like you two are fuck machines.
You can't... The bedroom's closed. You cannot see the swings.
Yeah.
Multiple.
It's a
Multiple
dungeon.
swings. If we open the door, just a cloud of
Leather.
fuck
Fuck dust.
essence.
I think it might be fuck dust.
would
Yeah,
come out.
sometimes they put towels underneath the door just so when they have guests over, you can't
Nothing
smell the
wafts.
fuck.
Yeah, exactly, sure.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done with that.
I actually rejected They Might Be Giants when I was younger. When I first heard it, there was this cafe me and my friends used to go to because I had a bunch of pool tables and we could hang out and drink sodas and stuff like that. And I was into hardcore gangster rap. Is what I liked. Yeah. And it's funny because I'm the same person I was.
Sure.
But my musical taste had to be the darkest type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I got into rock music and became a singer for a band, when they said, hey, we have this song by Rage Against the Machine, I was like, I don't know who they are. And I listened to them like, that's rap. I can do it. And this is going to sound racist, but the next song we sang with this band, they said, will you sing a Jimi Hendrix song? And I was like, well, I don't know. And I listened to it and I was like, Jimi Hendrix is black? Sure. That's literally what I said. And I was like, I will sing this.
All right.
And it wasn't until later that I was like, I don't have to try to do this darker music. Not that Hendrix was
When you say dark.
You know what I mean? No, not
Good job, Mike. Good
not that
job.
Rage
Well
Against the
done.
Machine. Not that they were dark or it's not metal I was listening to. It was more edgy. I was just trying to find an edge. Growing up in suburbia with liberal parents who are open.
Yeah.
And my dad's a drummer in a rock band. How do you rebel? So it's like rap music. It's the only thing. He plays rock, I'll listen to rap.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until college that I started listening to They Might Be Giants when I was really I don't have to be cynical. Life doesn't have to be dark and disturbing, and especially since I wasn't. I'm trying to put on a facade.
Right.
I used to wear a big necklace that said Africa. I am not lying.
Just the text Africa, or
No,
was
it
it
had
the
a-
shape
Really
of
like
the continent?
It had a
the group
picture-
Africa?
No, it had a picture of the continent of Africa.
You mean the song by Toto?
Great song.
Yes, I'm drinking. That's
Yeah,
whatever.
I did. I wore that. I mean, I just trying to rebel.
You're thinking of Asia.
I took my.
Yes.
You're
yes,
saying
I
the
am.
final countdown.
All the places over there that I
Yeah.
haven't been to.
I took my microphone from my karaoke machine that I had, and it was gold. And I cut the
Of course
cord,
it was, Mike.
cut the cord off it. I drilled a hole in it and put a gold chain around it, so I had a gold microphone.
What age
hanging
was
around.
that? How old were you when you were
Probably
doing this?
13 or 14.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
You think-
Any older, that would be so pathetic.
Yeah,
But like,
that's true.
when you were 13 and doing that, that was
Perfect.
fucking
That's,
awesome.
that's spot on.
And then right when it was
balls.
right when Rage Against the Machine came out, I was like, I went in the opposite direction. I was like, I like this sort of stuff. And yeah,
And then you ended up in a ska band.
Yeah, I ended up playing with ska band for 7 years.
Oh, interesting. What was did your ska band have ska in the title?
No, we were called Stew.
STEW?
STU. We had to
Okay.
be, with
You
a
had-
little umlaut
You
thing.
had
Oh,
checkers somewhere on your album cover. Though, right?
Yeah, well, one
Of
album.
course.
Our first album was called Live from the Recording Studio, which you can get
Oh,
on iTunes
cute.
still. So, you see what we did there?
I don't
I
get it.
do.
I wish I could explain. Yeah.
Sorry to get
This
back,
is-
but I rejected it. That's what the point I was trying to get to. Sorry, is I rejected it because I thought that music couldn't be intelligent. I mean, not that I hate to say that. I just didn't understand how intelligent it was. Is what I'm
Right.
trying to
Well,
say.
we were
Because
from
I heard
upstate
it,
New York,
and there's this
I
girl
guess.
who loved it at that cafe, and she kept trying to play it. I'm like, turn this crap off. And I kept yelling.
some, Mike.
But then in college, I know. Then in
might be-
college, somebody
oh,
plays
yeah.
it, and I'm like, hey, I know all this stuff. And automatically, I already knew it because I had heard it so many
Right.
times. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that when you are, definitely like high school is a time when you're really hard line about what you like.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I wish I could go back and tell my high school self, like,
Loosen up.
yeah, loosen up, like, enjoy some pop, like, learn some of the pop music
Yeah.
of your day. Like,
Right.
maybe get a TLC album, 13-year-old Jordan.
Should we tell him that the first single I bought was TLC's Waterfalls?
Oh, really?
Oh, amazing.
No, not amazing.
No, you know what? That is actually some good shit. Like,
All right.
like you can deny it. Now, some of the other shit you bought on single is
Real
just
McCoy's Another
unforgivable.
Night. It had
Well,
It's
4
really-
mixes of Real
You're not
McCoy's
one of the
Another
only
Night.
people who bought it.
At least
That-
you can dance to that.
The Waterfall single is considered the best-selling hip-hop single of all time.
Wow.
So you're not the
That's
You're not
only
the-
one
Was
in
it a
America.
cuss single?
It was not. It was a CD single.
Okay.
I do have a couple of singles. One was a Blues Traveler one, I believe.
Nice.
Singles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, like, if I could go back and do it again, would tell myself not to just hate music on principle because of its genre.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, to this day, like, I still don't, like, I couldn't tell you the title of a Tupac song.
Right.
And that is definitely something that I just can't bond with people over
Right.
because I just inherently didn't like it because it wasn't the genre of music that I liked.
Yeah,
So.
I'm still the same way.
Not to put too fine a point on it. Say I'm the only bee in your bonnet. Make a little birdhouse in your soul. I have a secret to tell from my electrical well. It's a simple message and I'm leaving out the whistles and bells. So the room must listen to me, filibuster vigilantly. My name is Blue Canary, one note spelled L-I-T-E. My story's infinite, like the Longines Symphony. It doesn't rest. Blue Canary in the outlet by the light switch. Who watches over you? Make a little birdhouse in your soul. Not to put too fine a point on it. Say I'm the only bee in your bonnet. Make a little birdhouse in your soul.
And I, on the other hand, could name every album with track listings of Tupac
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's what I listen
Like,
to.
no, this one was before
You
this
do have Thug Life.
I have
too,
Thug Life
across your
tattooed right here,
your
yeah,
stomach,
yeah.
I thought maybe. Okay.
Yeah, the
Well-
beer gut's starting to make it green.
That's sexy.
melting.
Boy. So what we were talking about then was that you kind of liked They Might Be Giants more, not because it's not necessarily comedy music, but it is funny. It was
Right.
more the feel of it, more the fact that it was not, it was dark maybe thematically, but not in, the sound or the feel of it. And then we started talking about, what I wanted to get into was like kind of characters, comedic characters that have maybe reflected that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely, hard to do comedy, writing, or performing in the style of They Might Be Giants.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
it is so dense and strange and kind of intentionally confusing sometimes. But I think that they do write from the point of view of characters a lot. On Flood particularly, there's Dead, there's Someone Keeps Moving My Chair, and those are all about, like, those are all from the point of view of kind of a tragic, irredeemable character. We were talking about Twisting.
She's psychotic, and she just wants to eliminate him in any way possible, and she's doing it with as much glee as she can.
Yeah,
she's just done with it. She doesn't want anything from him but for him to die and see him up in a tree or something.
Yeah, it is kind of like the ode to the world's worst romantic partner.
Yeah.
But like, if somebody listened to it that didn't know what was going on, it was the first time they heard They Might Be Giants, they'd just be like, oh, you can dance to this, you know? It's like, it's really poppy, and it's got so much energy, but it's just like super dark.
Yeah, it is about a really awful character.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I gravitate toward, is comedy that isn't about, it's less Friends and more Seinfeld. Like, Seinfeld is about, awful people who do not learn or grow.
Sure.
And you can kind of, laugh at their awfulness. And not that you don't sympathize with any They Might Be Giants characters, but they are more, they are more dark. It's like if it was a sitcom, they wouldn't all hug at the end and talk about what they've learned.
Right.
And I think that is definitely comedy that I gravitate towards, and it seems a little more authentic than the, well, what have we all learned? Type of.
Those characters are almost like I'm such a character, I'm stuck in an infinite loop.
Yeah, sure. Well, and that's the bonus of listening to a song every time,
I have
too.
patterns to it.
Yeah, God, I know, and that's, this is one, re-listening to the album to prepare for this, that song, Dead, I think was the one that I kept re-listening to a lot, and then there's the line, now it's over, I'm dead and I haven't done anything that I want, or I'm still alive and there's nothing I want to do.
Yeah.
It's just that, kind of...
And I like the metaphor, like coming back as, like what he's coming back as is so pointless
a bag
and
of groceries.
stupid. It's like there's nothing it's going to do in the world. It might feed somebody if they recognize that it's not gone bad because it's just a bag of groceries sitting there for whatever reason. Like, there's nothing it's going to... It's pointless.
Yeah, and it is about... Yeah, it is totally... It's the kind of the thesis of They Might Be Giants, if you kind of look at all their songs. And this, I don't know if they've said this or not, but this is totally how it seems to me. It's kind of like, well, everything's a little bit silly and meaningless, and we're all fucked, kind of, but let's have fun with that idea. So why not make things silly and fun?
Yeah, I think it's almost like, well, it all means basically nothing. You might as well have a good time while you're...
Yeah, it is a kind of a delightful nihilism. It's like a fun, delightful,
very irreverent
nihilism.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and that is interesting. And that is something that, the teenage brain responds to, I think, a lot. Yeah. But, anyway.
No, then what are there any characters that you can think of off the top of your head that reflect that for you? Because I can think of, going back to Alan Brady, even that's a character that's really delightful, but he's a piece of shit. Who's on the Dick Van Dyke Show?
Okay.
The boss, Carl Reiner's character, or going up to my two favorite, either Phil Silvers is probably my favorite, Sergeant Bilko is probably my favorite character of all time, but then there's Phil Hartman in News Radio is maybe, he's probably my favorite, but Bill McNeil on News Radio. It's probably my favorite character ever. I don't know if you watched it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did a whole we got to do a whole special about Phil Hartman, and that was what got me thinking about that again too. Was just that assholes with a heart of gold are probably my favorite characters ever.
Yeah, definitely. And if you look at one of my favorite shows right now is Archer, and that is a show that's populated by selfish characters who grow very little. Yeah. But you don't. But it's not about hating them, Right. I think when you describe a character as being irredeemable or, one that is without a lot of growth, you don't like them. But it's like most people change very, very gradually. Yeah. And I think that is a little bit more realistic. Even though Archer is crazy, and the things that happen are so dark and so extreme, it does seem a little bit more true to life,
Yeah, that he would just go back to who he is at the end.
Right, that everybody is kind of essentially the way they are.
Just slight. Sure. Mike, is there any characters that are, your favorites as far as that? No? None? Can't think of anything?
No.
You don't like
characters?
comedy?
No. I'm just agreeing with you guys. I don't really have anything to add at this point.
We should not have given
I'll raise my
beer.
hand.
Is that what's going to happen? You don't get interesting when you're drinking? That's fine.
No.
She's louder.
She's like a trooper. You see how fast she drank that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. We were also talking about, Mike, just, that experience of sitting down with an album. Jordan, you said you listened to it. Yeah. Driving a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It was a cassette tape. Was the first thing I had Flood on, and I got my my first car was an '85 Nissan Maxima with tape deck, and that was kind of where I spent the most private time with it. Was just kind of driving around and listening to it until it got warped. So
sure. There's, I think we already trod over the whole talking about having an album in your hands as being very important to you, Mike. I'm sure you've talked about that with us before, but give me 1 second.
I miss tapes too. I miss the somebody making you a tape. Mixtapes. Even somebody makes you a mix CD. I mean, they don't even do that as much anymore. The art of making it isn't the same. When you make like a mixtape, when you were sitting down to record that tape, it was a gift because it took a while. It took time.
Yeah.
Even on high speed dubbing, it would take 40 minutes if the album was an hour and a half. You really have to like this person to make them a tape.
Yeah, no, it really meant something. Even if they just straight up recorded like an album they thought was really important that you should have, it's like, you wanted me to grow as a person. Like, even if this is just silly stuff that's going to make me laugh, or this is like something that you thought had a good beat, it doesn't matter. Like, you wanted me to have something that you experienced.
Yeah.
Like, by yourself or whatever. That meant something to you and you wanted me to have it. Like, that's awesome.
Did that make this album critical to you in any way?
Yeah. I mean, that definitely made it super important because it was like a, kind of a gesture of friendship. And the guy who gave it to me was a year older, so it was a little bit of like, hey kid, check this out. It did feel like a gesture of acceptance. So the fact that it was a gift definitely made it all the more important. And it's funny, like, listening to, like, I think every They Might Be Giants album, and I keep up with them, and I even buy the new ones.
Sure.
And kind of re-listening to Flood from beginning to end to prepare for this. It's not their best album.
Yeah.
But it's
the
so
one that's the
sentimental.
most important to me.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that the album before and the one after, Lincoln and Apollo 18, are both easily, front to back better albums. But this one will always just be super sentimental,
Yeah, well, and if you have memories with it, with other people, or even, like, just thoughts you had about it when you were listening to it by yourself, it's like, you can't really replace that, I don't think.
And I don't think if I had liked... Again, Mike, did you like Nirvana when it was a thing?
Yeah, after he had died.
Okay, so
I didn't get into it until after Kurt.
I just don't, do you have? For me, it feels like something like They Might Be Giants, or something like, for me, comedy it's easier to associate more nice, happy memories with, or those memories stick out to me more than if I had really loved something dark and depressing like Nirvana. I don't. Do you have any great memories?
Well, I went from no, not really. I mean, just being in college. Because right when I got into college, Kurt Cobain had already died.
Sure.
Nirvana had already,
been killed. You mean?
Yeah, he was murdered. After he was murdered in cold blood.
Someone, maybe you'll be able to speak to this. Someone told me recently that one of the theories is that Tupac's brother died. And he's the one that was in the casket, and that the real Tupac is living somewhere.
Him and Big E are living in, like, Cuba or something.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
That would be...
We can't go there and chat.
No, I haven't heard that.
Embargoes.
I haven't kept up on my Tupac conspiracy theory stuff lately.
I can...
No, just, the next time you have a lazy Sunday.
Yeah, I will. I'll be...
Just go on and...
I have connections. I can check them out for you.
Really? Yeah, I'll give you tea. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to say what you
No.
do. Oh, that's right. Okay.
I went right from...
Not if we want to speak the way we want to speak.
That's true. Okay. Yeah.
I returned a bag of groceries, accidentally taken off the shelf before the expiration date. I came back as a bag of groceries, accidentally taken off the shelf before the day stamped on my sound. Did a large procession wave their torches as my hand fell in the basket? Everybody dancing on the casket. Now it's here, I'm dead, and I haven't done anything that I want. Or I'm still alive, and there's nothing I want to do. I will never say the word procrastinate again. I'll never see myself in the mirror with my eyes closed.
I went right from listening to Nirvana and more alternative rock stuff. When I went to Lollapalooza in '96, I went to see Metallica. That was my goal, was to see Metallica. And the Ramones were playing on the first stage. And if I had been the person I am now, I would have been like, this is amazing,
Sure,
the Ramones. Yeah. But at the time, I'm going, I hate the Ramones, I hate this punk stuff. That's what I said. I went to the second stage. And on the second stage, the first stop of their tour, on the second stage, was the band that changed my life forever. When Ben Folds started playing piano on the second stage, my musical taste changed immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it was immediately. And that's when eventually, within '97, I got into They Might Be Giants. Like, I started to listen to that stuff. I was like, okay, it doesn't have to all be dark and cynical.
Sure.
And I can appreciate that stuff. I still like Metallica, I don't listen to it all the time. But I still like it and realize how amazing their Ramones are. And, I'm so happy I was very sheltered as far as music goes when I was young.
Have you seen them live, Jordan?
They Might Be Giants, yeah.
Yeah, a ton.
Yeah, for sure.
Jealous.
The first time I saw them was for the... they had a live album called Severe Tire Damage. Where they play all their songs with a big horn section.
They're so good. On that album, they're so good.
That album is terrific.
So is the horn section part of the group, or were they?
It's not. They kind of change up how they tour, which is a great reason to re-see them. And they always kind of change up the kind of hit songs a lot. This is fun. On Conan O'Brien, they played a song off their new album, but just for the web. They did this really weird version of Anna Ng.
Yeah.
That is kind of weird and dissonant and has all this kind of dark noise in it.
Cool.
It is really, really great. So I think definitely if you're a fan of that song, make sure to look at that live performance.
Only, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
okay.
It's really, really good. They definitely kind of change up their tour. Their touring lineup a lot, so it's definitely a cool reason to see them a bunch, which I had. That time they had this kind of big brass section, which as a ska fan, it was nice of me. Oh, good, this still has horns. Like I don't have to freak out. Oh, good. There's still at least 10 people on stage, so I was comfortable. It was not out of my comfort zone.
I only need to know who a couple of these people are, and that's how it should be.
Right? Yeah.
I think I saw them live only once, and that was, and I shoved this in Jen's face as often as I can, so I'm a bad person. But it was, okay, to be fair, it's not the greatest time. I'm seeing it live on Conan, but the original, the late night show. It was in 2000.
That's great.
That's even cooler.
Well, right? It was Andy's second to last show, too, so that was kind of good. But they were playing the Malcolm in the Middle theme song, so it's not like their greatest music.
Oh, funny.
But
they won their,
it's a really good song, though. Just because we had to hear it too many times doesn't make
it's a good song. It's a good song.
A bad song.
I'm just saying.
It has a bad taste in my mouth.
Because it's related to Bryan Cranston, because you hate him, right? What? You hate Bryan Cranston.
Who's that?
He's the dad from Malcolm in the Middle, who is now on Breaking Bad.
On Breaking Bad, so that's another reason you don't like him, because you don't like Breaking Bad.
I'm not gonna hold
the mechanic and Drive.
Everything. Again.
Yes, the mechanic.
That's where I go.
Is that where you go? That's good. I go dentist from Seinfeld. That's my first thought. But yeah. What we're talking about? Seeing them, have you seen them live?
I've never seen them live.
No. Ska bands? Have you seen a lot of ska bands live?
I've seen a lot of ska bands.
Yeah, who did you guys open for anybody big?
Yeah, we played with the Boss Tones.
Great, awesome.
That's awesome.
Catch-22.
Terrific.
Yeah, Catch-22 with the new singer, and then Catch-22 with the original singer, who's now part of Streetlight Manifesto, which is basically the same band. Yeah, we played with them. So I saw a lot of those bands. We used to play with this band called Perfect Thyroid, which is a pretty big ska band in New York. They were awesome. Yeah, they were great. And we bought all their equipment on their live show. They had us open for them for their live show.
Really?
And we just, after the show, they were like, just buy it all. We were like, awesome! So we bought all their stuff. So I saw a lot of... I love the ska scene. It's just... It's kids having fun and uncynical. Like I'm saying, cynicism is everywhere in art today. Everything is cynical. And it's like, you can have humor and you can have good music and intelligent art without being so freaking cynical.
To be fair, ska is not intelligence. Mostly.
No, you're right.
But
It's about the energy and
absolutely.
yeah.
You know what I saw something on the internet the other day that really warmed my heart. This was kind of shaky phone camera footage of some sort of school event. I mean, I think it could be a spring fling or a end of year barbecue or something. Or some school event. It's in the Midwest somewhere. The band is Lady Skaga. It is a bunch of high school kids playing ska versions of Lady Gaga songs.
Oh, that's pretty
awesome. Fucking look it up on YouTube and just
I will.
And feel delighted about the future.
That's pretty amazing.
There's hope for the future, and they
amazing.
could not sound more like a mid-90s ska band.
Yeah.
They've got this kind of girl singer who's like, in a little rockabilly dress.
Yeah.
And they are fucking having a great time.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And, I mean, they have ska in the name.
Yeah.
I mean, just perfect.
Yeah. See, well, again, and I think we're getting to sort of, we're getting to the core of it, is that just sort of like beautiful enjoyment of life. While you can, I mean, and that's like, again, that's what ska is. It may not be quote unquote intelligent necessarily, but
not that there are not great musicians.
of course,
Sure.
of course. No, they're not smart people, but it's the kind of music that it's
It's
I know what you're saying, but that's again, is there comedy that can be as gleeful and intelligent? I mean, just off the top of your head, like, what are there any sketch groups or movies or TV shows that sort of are as gleeful maybe as something like that, or as They Might Be Giants, but still as deep or dark?
Yeah, God. Well, I mean, if you look at just everything on Adult Swim is so it is so crazy and just all about id, but is so funny. So yeah, definitely like that is great. And dude, excuse me, I belched a little bit.
Oh, nice. That's good.
And yeah, definitely something that kind of rides that line between, funny and dark and also intelligent. If you look at, like, Kids in the Hall, that was a great example of something that has all of those qualities
Completely
at once.
silly and, there's dark parts, why not, let's try this and see what happens.
Taking chances that people...
Total chances.
Like, what comedy group has a more cynical view of humanity than Kids in the Hall?
Sure.
Like, but it never comes off as angry.
Right. No, that's exactly,
It's like, well, yeah, we realize humanity is ridiculous and we're all fucked. We realize that, but it doesn't seem like they're not having a great time.
Yeah.
I think Monty Python does that too. I think that they did, they didn't care how they looked or anything, and they just went for it.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
and showed how ridiculous people are.
They did break barriers like that. I'm kind of excited to see what Chris Hardwick does with the new Kids in the Hall stuff that's going on his channel.
Me too.
Do you know anything about it other than he's just
the Kids
announced
in the
it? Yeah.
No, they've been working on it a while, and the original Kids in the Hall found a whole new cast, and they've been doing it for a while.
What are you talking about? A whole new cast?
Kids in the Hall?
Kids in the Hall.
Yeah.
Dave Foley, etc.
They got.
They didn't get a whole new cast.
They got kids, so that it would still be kids in the hall.
Are you just making a stupid joke?
No.
You are.
I have
babies.
updates on
Babies.
Facebook
Babies.
for the
Kids
past
in the Hall babies.
year or two.
They don't have a new cast.
Huh?
They don't have a new cast.
Oh, they're doing stuff still?
Yes. What are you talking about?
Okay.
It's the same cast.
All right. Well, I'll show you something.
All right. I don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't see the Nerdist part, so if they're doing it still, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they periodically will do like secret shows around LA that are the tickets come out the day before it happens and they sell out in 2 minutes. So I think they've always been, and they did that show in Canada that they aired on IFC, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't get to see that yet.
So yeah, I think they're still active and I saw one of those secret shows a few years back and the material was just terrific. Really? So yeah, I mean, whatever it is they end up doing, I can't imagine it's not going to be great.
Sure. Is there any, Mike, like sketch groups that
No, I'm good still.
You're still good? God damn it, Mike.
No, I don't. I don't. I think that there's a lot right now with... I find that some improv groups, and this is some, I'm a big improv fan, but some improv groups have the energy that we're talking about, this energy and this vibrancy. But some of them get so much stuck in their heads with making sure that they follow the rules and the games, which they're supposed to follow, but they're so in their heads about it and trying to be so cerebral that they lose some of that.
Yeah, it's beside the point.
Yeah. And I know I hate to say that some of the groups at UCB, some of the top groups are great, but they're great because they're good improvisers, and that's why they're the top groups. But I don't want to bash the up and coming Herald teams that are trying.
I think you should. Can you name a few?
No. I'm going to name the people.
Okay. Yeah, right.
But there's that energy in improv. There's an energy that that I think comes across, and that can be translated into sketch, but I find a lot of problems with these. I'm getting off topic a little bit, but a lot of the problems I get with some of these improv groups, they're sketch groups too. They do a lot of improv and then they do sketch. Well, their improv leads to sketch, but then they shut down the sketch. They're like, okay, well, we're really just an improv group, where it's like, oh, that's good. You could run with that and make a great sketch. It was funny as an improv. You did a great job here live in front of us, but I think there's something more there that you can run with, and they don't take that energy and continue forward, so... Yeah, if that makes sense.
That's a nice rant. Thank you.
She said you're goldfish free, and now she's sighing. Blew out your pilot light and made a wish. She doesn't have to have her DB's record back now, but there's not a lot of things that she'll take back. She wants to see you again. She wants to see you again. Slowly twisting in the wind. Twisting in the wind. She's not your satellite. She doesn't miss you. So turn off your smoke machine and marshal sky. She doesn't have to have her young fresh fellas tape back now, but there's not a lot of things that she'll take back. She wants to see you again. She wants to see you again.
Well, what about your own sketch group then, Jordan? Just talk about them.
Yeah, sure. I'm in a sketch group at UCB called Up, 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 and they've actually been around for years. I'm kind of a recent addition to the group. I was always a fan. They're really, really funny guys. There's a lot of parody in the group. There's a lot of genre and media parody, which I think sometimes gets a bad rap for just being referencey, but they're real smart about it.
Yeah.
And I've just been really pleased with the work we've done, and definitely feel like when I'm writing with them, I feel like I'm working to keep up.
Yeah.
And that's a great feeling.
Cool.
Do you write and perform with the group? Or?
No, I write more.
Okay.
Perform sometimes, but the way these UCB groups work is that there's a set of writers and then there's a cast that you're writing for.
Yeah.
So,
How the hell do you pull off good parody on stage? That's my question. I actually think that would be more challenging on stage rather than with a fucking video camera, because that's what I'm used to, just shooting parody.
Yeah, parodies neat on video, just because there's edit. If you're shooting a reality show parody, there's there's an editing technique, and there's a certain when something's wacky, you use pizzicato music.
Right.
When someone's being goofy,
you can change the way the camera looks or the angles you shoot at to parody it with the visual style too.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think just with when you're doing it on stage, it's just just make it about the dialogue, make the dialogue in the style of what you're parodying, and then just don't make it too complicated,
right?
Because I think sometimes you're tempted to write something with a lot of cuts that you simulate with lights up and lights down.
Right, see, that's what I was
and so
wondering.
yeah, just kind of keep it simple. Just make it more dialogue based than anything.
Is there any music that you listen to while writing, in particular?
No, I'm big on I'm big on kind of TV as white noise.
Really?
So yeah, I'll kind of put on a weird. Excuse me again. It's these damn beers you brought us.
One another.
So I'll just go on Netflix and put on a bad movie that I know I'm not going to be too interested in.
Okay.
But can kind of like just enjoy for a little bit. Actually, the last time I was writing on Netflix, I put on Season of the Witch, starring Nicolas Cage and Ron Perlman.
Nice.
Because I've always been curious about it. Just kind of being curious about the late career of Nicolas Cage.
I think he could be your go-to guy for a lot of writing witness.
I think so too.
Guarantee.
I may be tempted to just get a little library of I gotta get Face Off. I gotta get. I'm gonna get 8mm,
of course,
just to kind of keep me company and keep me productive.
Get the Ghost Rider movies.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I find like with music and writing, sometimes I like it, but I don't like. God, I'm coming off as so anti-emotion in this podcast, but I don't really love having a strong feeling while I'm writing because I think it is a more brainy exercise.
Sure.
So I think if I'm listening to music and inadvertently I'm swept over with an emotion, I shut down a little bit.
Okay.
So I think I try and keep my background noise kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I.e. a Nicolas Cage movie.
That's I've never heard of anybody doing it that way. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't do it, but that's because I'm always afraid I'm going to be influenced. But to be fair, you're putting on something that one would hope you'd be.
What do you listen to, Jason?
Bad poppy shit, like really poppy shit, like
Yeah.
Vampire Weekend poppy, like just because I can
It's not
ignore
really
it.
bad.
It's not bad, but I'm just saying
It's really
it's
poppy,
not
though.
content heavy to the point where I can ignore it. But since
it's a beat.
it's a cycle and it's a
Right?
beat and it's a lot of high pitches. There's not a lot of droning shit. The Decemberists sometimes if I'm in a mood.
Rockabilly.
When I wrote that horror movie, I was listening to a lot of the Decemberists
And Wanda Jackson.
and Wanda Jackson. I was
And
mixing
you were
rockabilly.
listening to the Decemberists, and then you wrote a horror movie about a killer ascot. I just strangled the dandies that it was on. There's been a wave of dandy stranglings.
I have two artists only that I listen to and I write.
Ben Folds.
Nope. No.
What? Really?
Angels and Airwaves.
Oh, right.
Yes,
Okay.
because it's just kind of, there's a lot of music without lyrics. It just kind of flows. And Mountain Goats.
What the fuck is Mountain Goats?
Oh, you don't know the Mountain
No,
Goats?
I
They're
don't.
wonderful.
Yeah,
They're
are
a
they?
wonderful band.
What
Yeah,
kind
the
of
first
music are
6
they?
album, kind of folky.
Like Iron and Wine?
kind of folky guitar singer-songwriter type
Iron and
of
Wine?
stuff.
No, I'm just saying, are they like Iron and
Yeah,
Wine?
kind of.
That's
kind
why
of.
they reference.
All their first albums were all recorded on a boombox in a room by himself.
Yeah,
Mountain Goats are really, really
Yeah,
funny.
really.
I would think that they are maybe even a kind of tonally similar band to They Might Be Giants,
Really?
only sometimes they will be really, really sad.
Uh-huh.
There's an album they wrote called Get Lonely
Okay.
that is just the most heartbreaking thing ever. But sometimes they get into that They Might Be Giants kind of free association absurdity.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're actually a great group that I think carries that torch a little bit when they're not being just pulverizingly sad.
Yeah.
But they are like super fun, kind of super dense lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
John Worcester drums for them sometimes.
I don't know who that is. I apologize.
From the best show on WFMU and also of Superchunk.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So
That's the reference I needed. Actually, let's go back to where you were first introduced to. This is hard to nail down, but introduced to comedy. Did your parents sit you down and make you listen or watch, anything that was funny to them?
Not really. My dad had some old vinyl, so like a couple of Steve Martins and a couple of Bob Newharts that I discovered later.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely remember him sitting me down and us watching It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yeah.
Which at the time I thought was the funniest thing in the
Yeah.
world. And came over 2 video cassettes because it was so long. Yeah, so it was one of those things where it was like, you had to
Yeah. That
Put it in
was
another
a video
VHS
store in
tape.
Stu.
Yeah. Little intermission section. Okay.
But yeah, no, my parents never really pushed anything on me. I mean, I think that the most important things to me growing up were The Simpsons and Mystery Science Theater.
Okay.
What I would say are my big my big influence shapers.
Sure.
So yeah, I definitely was like a Simpsons obsessive.
Yeah.
And was fine spending a Friday night just sitting with a friend and seeing who could remember the most Simpsons stuff.
Right.
So yeah, that was those were definitely my jams growing up.
So for comedy, you did have that was going to be my next question. You did sort of have did you have any friendships that grew up around comedy like that? I mean, you sit and you would back and forth with a friend, but
yeah, God, and the guy I mentioned who gave me the Thing Giants tape, Joey Hurley, he his brother kind of being this kind of nerd culture Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Which I realize is a little bit of a complicated metaphor.
It is,
but
it's good.
Nerd Sherpa.
Yeah, a nerd Sherpa. Guiding us up Virginity Mountain. Safely up to the summit.
It leaves you there and you have to figure out how to
summit
get down.
And I was actually not even close with the brother, though I met him a couple of times. I just I knew that he was giving my friend this knowledge, and then I would kind of get it secondhand.
Yeah.
So he definitely had a lot of VHS recorded cassettes of Mystery Science Theater, and it's being here, watch this.
Yeah.
Which was super great for me. So yeah, that was definitely a comedy friendship, and yeah, I like I said, I definitely just would gravitate towards other Simpsons obsessives, and we would just sit and maybe sometimes play GoldenEye or sometimes not.
Yeah.
And then just sit around and see how much Simpsons stuff we could remember and make each other laugh. So yeah, and definitely, and then kind of later on in high school, we got an improv class and started doing little improv shows.
Yeah.
And then that was interesting to have people you were doing comedy with and not just appreciating comedy with.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
We got to do that in drama class too.
Yeah.
It was fun. Me and my friend wrote funny commercials together. We were ridiculous. One was for a mortuary.
That's awesome.
Door-to-door mortuary service, actually. So we would embalm people at your house.
Oh, nice.
See, I wish I'd written anything that good when I was in high school.
Did you kill the people before you embalmed them?
No. They were dead, but we had a couch on the stage in our theater, and we flipped it around. We had my friend on there as the dead person, and we flipped it around. We gave the family these knowing looks of what we were about to do, and then we had this bag of brown Jello that we were sort of
pulling out of him.
Yeah, it's his guts.
And then I think we ate some of it at one point.
Of course,
sure, you got it.
It's kind of gold. I mean,
even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. So take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone. Constantinople. Why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks. Istanbul. Istanbul, even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople.
Yeah, but I mean, and I had a lot of the similar thing. I think performing and writing with people, especially comedy. I mean, I don't know. I still have yet to figure out what exactly the equation is. Why comedy binds you so well?
No, but when you first get to do that with people, at that age, it's just. It gets really addictive.
Exactly, and that's what I've been trying to recreate ever since I was 14.
Yeah.
I first tried to teach myself improv. Did you have anything like that? Were you those first performing moments, were they important to you as far as? I mean, do you have? I mean, I always look back at 14 as the thing I'm trying to recreate feeling wise.
You peaked at 14.
Exactly. That's kind of how it feels, and I'm out here trying to. I want to feel that way when I perform, and sometimes I do. Or perform or record or whatever I'm doing. I mean, do you have anything like that or?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I super remember those times doing improv in high school. Mm-hmm. On the stage where everybody ate lunch. I really remember it as awesome. Being, just oh, okay, this is something that I can do. It being, very formative and important. But no, and kind of knowing how rewarding that that collaborative relationship can be. Like when you also collaborate on something with a friend.
Sure.
And it's kind of bonding you guys further. So
I'm going to ask you again, Mike. Please don't say no. I have nothing this time because I know you did a lot of theater.
Growing up with me, my best friend Brian and I got into doing comedy, both as performers. Comedy through this in about 9th grade. Spanish Club had a talent show every year. It was a Spanish Club talent show to raise money for the Spanish Club to go to Spain. Every year they sent people to Spain.
All right.
So me and my buddy at this time, John Leguizamo's House of Buggin' was on.
Of course.
And we loved that sketch show. We loved it.
Oh,
so we said, let's do Hispanic sketches. So...
oh, no.
And it went over like gangbusters. For like 4 or 5 Chicano military minutes.
You didn't use shoe polish, did you?
We didn't. We
Okay.
didn't. We would go in and people laugh, realizing now they were laughing at the racism that we didn't understand we were spelling.
Yeah.
We did it every year for 4 years.
Oh,
we
my
performed
God.
different sketches, but we would find the best bits from House of Buggin' that we loved, and we would perform them. And
These were like covers.
these were covers. We didn't know that you were supposed to write your own stuff.
Right.
You know, we were performers. We weren't writers.
Sure, no.
So we would go and we would do
I
these
think
sketches.
every like high school talent show has a couple of kids doing Who's On.
Yes, and also House of Buggin' wasn't known. It ran for 12 episodes and got canceled. So we had them all on VHS. So we would watch them over and over, had them all memorized, because I'm a huge John Leguizamo fan even to this day. And we would do this, and that's why we bonded over that. And every year we would go back, and every year. After I was
Just to clarify, you were all white.
always.
Yeah, this is upstate New York.
Upstate
This
New
is
York,
unavoidable
yeah.
white people.
Wow.
And our senior year was the first time we got any flack from anything. There was a Hispanic girl who said, "I'm offended by your sketches."
But
And
you
I
kept
didn't know
doing
why
this?
she
It
was
was like a
offended.
yearly
It
tradition?
was 4 years.
4
we did
years.
it.
So every year,
We would do 5 or 6
sketches from House of Buggin'.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah, and we loved comedy. We just listened to me and Brian listen to it all the time. We would watch those sketches, SNL too, but those specifically. And we kept going back to those for that show. Not that we didn't have other comedic influences, but it was the Spanish Club. So we have to do these sketches.
You've had so many stories on this podcast about being racially insensitive as a child.
I know, and I wasn't, because it was the opposite. To be honest, I was listening
Of
to
course.
rap. I was the only kid in school who had, I hate to say, I had a black friend, but you know, I was the only one who had the 2 black kids who were in school. They were my best friends too,
Yeah.
you know. I was the only one, me and my family, we were the ones who weren't racist.
Sure.
So I didn't know this. Had I known this was racially insensitive.
No, and I think that's when
no.
you are, as a white kid, like, when you do discover ethnic comedy, the House of Buggins, the culture clashes,
right.
just the
In Living Color,
yeah,
loved In Living
absolutely.
Color.
I think we
Oh,
all
God.
probably loved
Yeah.
In Living Color as kids. Like, you learn that the difference between races are funny.
Yeah. Sure.
But you don't necessarily know yet how loaded those performances are.
Yeah, it's different when a Hispanic guy's doing these characters because
Right.
he's picking, he's pointing out the absurdity of the people who, but when a white kid is doing it, then, I wish I could say I was smart enough to know that I was also picking on that absurdity.
Right,
but,
right.
But, I didn't have that. But we bonded a lot over those sketches. And every year they asked us to come back.
Of course.
That's so funny.
Adults asked you to come
The
back.
Spanish
and
chick,
do
Like, at that
good
point,
job, adults.
your yearly sketch review ran longer than the show. Like, we're out of House of Buggin' sketches. There's only 5 of them.
Well, we did the same one almost, the end one we did every year, which was amazing, which was at the end you come out after our costumes are off because I'm not even going to tell you what our costumes were.
Please.
They wore ponchos and sombreros.
No, we wore jeans, but we wore the flannel that was buttoned at the top.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we'd come out at the end, we'd be dressed in suits, the last sketch, and we'd have holding, and we'd say, we're being serious, we're here to raise money, everybody, we want you to know, and there's beautiful music playing in the background. It's like, every year, millions of innocent piñatas are slaughtered for their insides. And we'd bring out a piñata with the thing and call the number 1-800-PINYATA. And it was on this card. Every year we ended with that. And people would just go,
nuts every time,
piñata, yeah. And we hand around baskets and we put money in it. But it wasn't for that because they were giving money for the Spanish Club. But,
of course.
But we ended it with the same one every year. That was all House of Buggin' stuff that we would perform.
Wow.
Jordan, any racist stories from your past?
No, I was never that racist. No, but I definitely remember, like, the first times I heard Chris Rock or Eddie Murphy Raw or something like that, and then like wanting to repeat it to people,
right?
But not realizing that like, no, those things that play heavily off race are very political and they're super sensitive. Yeah. So I think that's something that you learn gradually from being in maybe a touchy-feely liberal arts college,
right?
But yeah.
We used to
but it's just fun as a kid. It's just fun and part of being a comedy nerd.
Yeah.
And I used to repeat them all the time, and I think the reason we would repeat all those, like Chris Tucker, or like his early stand-up stuff, we'd repeat it because that was on a Comedy Central VHS that we had. We would repeat it over and over, and it was because it was edgier stuff than a lot of the other stuff. We were trying to do the stuff that was different than what the kids listened to. Yeah. All the other kids were listening to Kinnison and Dice, which I listened to Kinnison, but that's what they were listening to. And we weren't, that wasn't us.
Yeah.
You know, we were trying to listen to different, the reason that we chose the music we chose. And we were trying to carve out our niche, what we liked, you know?
I remember I had, one of my prized possessions as a kid was a CD of the 1989 HBO Comic Relief. And there was, I think it was George Lopez was on that.
Wow. Holy shit.
And he just had a joke about, like, how come all ghosts are white? How come there's no black ghosts? And black ghosts would be all, boom, motherfucker! Oh, and I loved telling that joke to people. Because it was so funny to me. But yeah, just not realizing that, like, wow, that's a joke about black people from a Hispanic comedian.
Yeah.
You know.
I think my parents were too sensitive. I kind of wish I'd had that. I didn't have that as a kid. Where my parents were way too. If I'd have said anything remotely offensive, quote unquote offensive or too sensitive, I think I would have been, chastised severely for it.
I mean, I knew the words that were wrong.
Sure.
You don't say the N word. And you don't say those words. And we didn't say those.
No. Of
so
course.
we cleaned it
but
up.
I didn't even have that. What you're talking. I enjoyed it. I might have shared it with some people. I'm trying to remember exactly when I realized I wasn't supposed to share it with everyone. It might have been when I discovered Blazing Saddles, which you can tell I love. But
Jason.
Well,
we are currently in a room with a giant Blazing Saddles poster.
One of 5 that are in the house.
I thought it was crazy growing up that I didn't know that as a comedian you were supposed to write stuff. Because I came from a background of performing. I'd been performing since I was 10 years old in theater and stuff. So you just perform. So whenever I was doing a sketch for anything, it was, let's watch SNL to find a sketch to do.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and we always tried to find one that no one knew. Like, that was the thing, because they're not going to laugh if they know it.
Well, honestly, any kind of artist learns by what they see first and imitating it in some way.
Sure.
Even if it's like half theirs, half what they've seen. Any form, any musician starts with some covers, any visual artist will sketch out what they see, that's natural.
True.
I taught a sketch class to beginners kind of recently, and they were all kind of it was through an organization that does like theater classes for public schools.
Awesome.
So they were all theater kids. We're not comedy scene kids.
Okay.
Who just wanted to try sketch, and this one kid just kind of changed a little bit, but wrote the Mr. Show sketch where the two kind of bros get up in each other's face at the bar, and then they keep being in each other's face because neither one of them will back down until they just agree to get married. And he just wrote that, but changed it a little bit. And I'm like, do you know this is a Mr. Show sketch? He's like, yo, yeah, I love that sketch. So it was that is definitely something that I think just, as a performer and as a young person, you don't know that you can't do.
I lost my lucky ball and chain. Now she's 4 years gone. She's 5 feet tall and sick of me and all my rattling on. She threw away her baby doll. I held on to my pride, but I was young and foolish then. I feel old and foolish now. Confidentially, she never called me baby doll. Confidentially, I never had much pride, but now I rock a bar stool and I drink for 2.
because for me it was Cheech and Chong. Like, my best friend and I would just sit in a car, a busted-out old car, listen to Cheech and Chong, then turn it... Well, I think we read along with it. We would do the exact same thing. And then a lot of our characters, when we would do improv on cassette tapes, where I was doing Tommy Chong's stoner character half the time, and he was doing something else.
And let's be clear, neither of you smoked any drugs of any kind.
No, never. I didn't smoke pot for the first time until a couple months ago, so that's,
Oh, wow.
Never, yeah.
That's pretty...
That was interesting.
It was quite a holdout. How was it?
It blew my mind it wasn't like, oh wow, I think differently, which I was very happy that it didn't change the way I see the world, you know?
For sure.
It was just, I felt like I was floating on a fucking cloud. That was it. I was like, this is great. This is better than I thought. I was 9 beers in, too, though. Like, I was...
You were fucked up already.
Oh, yeah.
Decisions were made.
Well, hey, I was in a show. I do a show every month where I have to drink, where we do 80s movies, and we do a reading. We do a stage reading on stage of an 80s movie. We get drunk. The audience gets drunk. And what was I doing? Was that Scrooged? Where I was Bobcat? Yeah, I think that was Scrooged. So it was the end of that, so... That was a good show, so I got really good.
I just did heroin for the first time last night.
Did you?
It felt the same way. It didn't make me think differently.
Cloud.
On a cloud.
I was on a cloud, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It was a nice little circle we all, shared and...
Right. That's pleasant. That's good.
It
I'm glad you had a good moment with it.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you, you went to UC Santa Cruz, right?
Yes.
At that point, and I'm only bringing it up because I was staring at this Tom Lehrer album earlier. Was he still teaching at the college when you were there?
Yeah, a famous comedy songster, Tom Lehrer, was a professor there. I did not have him for a class. The guy I do my podcast with, Jesse Thorne, had him for a couple of classes. So yeah, and I hear he was terrific, and I definitely kicked myself a little bit that I didn't, try and make room in my schedule just to take a class from him.
Right. I'm tempted to call him because his number is rather famously public, and we'll take the call.
Oh, funny.
To
this day?
Yeah, apparently.
Is it a Santa Cruz area code?
I don't. I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
But
why would you just know that off the top of your head?
No, but I mean,
there?
it is. I went to one of the basic websites. I won't say which, but I mean, it's easy enough. And I looked it up, and I checked with the guy who runs TomLehrer.org because I'd love to at least talk to him for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It'd be great to go. I'd fucking go to Santa Cruz, get him on the podcast.
Sure.
I don't care.
I've never been to Santa Cruz. I want to go to Santa Cruz.
I'd like to go to Santa Cruz too. I've
It's
never
fun
been there.
if you're looking to chill out.
Yeah.
That's a good place to
You know,
do
there's
it.
this awful movie, but it's one of my favorite movies of all time that I fell in love with when I was in college called Glory Days.
Mm-hmm.
That takes place in Santa Cruz. You ever seen that? Affleck?
No, I
French
have not
Stewart,
seen
Sam
it.
Rockwell.
But yeah.
Ben Affleck.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
French part of the kind of like
Is this real?
Kevin
Yeah.
Smith fallout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was this movie was like a
Yeah,
indie low budget.
It's not good, but it's I love it.
Set in
Like,
Santa
it's not bad when you watch it. It's not bad. And that makes me want to go to Santa Cruz all the time. I just want to go up there. Ben Affleck, one of his best performances he's ever had. He plays a punk who's like into comic books, who's graduating, and he's an art student, and he's like, you ever wonder what happened to the overeducated, pampered, white, rich kids that the art schools churn out year after year?
Oh, 90s
Well, I'm about to become one.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. And
it was Clerks without the delicacy.
exactly.
Okay. That sounds all right.
Exactly.
Without the velvet glove of Kevin Smith.
And I loved that movie since I was in New York, so I never even know what Santa Cruz was. Now I come out here and everyone's like, you gotta go and feel like this. Yeah.
I've only heard of Santa Cruz on Jordan's podcast. To be fair, that's the first time I heard anybody talk about it, and you guys talk about it a lot.
I'd say a fun beach town in Northern California. Very stony, lots of drum circles.
How? Okay, so just
you can get your didgeridoo repaired there. You have a busted didgeridoo. That's where you're going to want to go.
rain sticks too. Is that in the same place?
Oh yeah, so you can get your rain stick rebeamed.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
And
They
your hacky
wear out.
sacks.
Yeah.
Sure.
You need to get your
Well, that's what they do with the leftover beans from the rain sticks.
That's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
Your
hacky
hemp
sacks.
necklace is recharged.
that place
by
still
the
exists.
sun.
Like it's still like that now.
I haven't been back in a couple of years, but yes, it's exactly like that. Yeah, I think it's always been a little bit.
To be
stuck in
fair,
the 60s.
Oleana's got that flavor.
It does.
It's filled
It
with
does. You're
hippy
right.
dippy
You're
people.
right.
And
We're from
racism.
upstate New York.
Oh, yeah.
We're from an enclave. I feel like of like one of the liberal enclaves of upstate. The rest is
I mean,
pretty
there's
conservative.
4 colleges within a 20-mile radius. And
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
you've got that many professors walking around. You're going to get a contact high.
That is true.
It's just bound to happen.
So here's how we usually end it. I usually like to ask my guests if they're gonna. I hope that people listening to this are people who have not listened to They Might Be Giants before.
Yes.
or who don't know a lot of comedy. So why would you tell somebody why they should listen to this album, and maybe why they might want to listen to it for the sake of understanding comedy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that just music nerds in general should probably listen to this, because I think at this point it is one of the important albums. Mm-hmm. I think Frank Black has said that it's one of his top 3 albums of all time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely. I think it's now just cemented itself, in kind of the rock music canon a little bit.
Sure.
So yeah, no, and I think it's a great example of how funness and darkness can coexist.
Yeah.
And it's like that something that's dark doesn't need to be bleak, and something that's fun doesn't have to be goofy and
sugary,
pointless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's like those 2 things can coexist perfectly and make a beautiful, wonderful thing, and they don't have to be at odds with each other.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome. That's perfect. I'm going to make one more point, and that is I had to get up very early because we're doing 3 podcasts today. Mm-hmm. And I had a dream that I was running late for the podcast, but while you were waiting around for us to record, you were prancing around in ladies' clothing. And I don't know why.
Wow.
You're putting on nice Victorian women's clothing.
Yeah, was my boner visible?
And a nice hat. I was distracted by your hat, so you might have been.
It was the fuck smell that made you dream that.
It was the fuck smell.
Yeah,
you're
just
right.
I was permeates just all over all this furniture. Oh, Jesus.
I was sleeping in the swing, so that's why that happened. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This was awesome.
For sure.
Again, Jen, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike, thank you.
Oh, of course.
And Jordan, thank you.
Thanks, Jordan.
All right, everybody, have a fantastic time and have a good thing. Bye.
Hang on tight.
Comedy on Vinyl is recorded at Fort Awesome Studios in beautiful downtown Burbank, California. Our producer is Mike Worden, our host is Jason Klamm, and he's also the editor. Comedy on Vinyl is a Stolen Dress entertainment production. You can check out all of our other podcasts, books, videos, other audio stuff, probably some writing, at stolendress.com. And please check out Comedy on Vinyl at facebook.com/Comedy on Vinyl, twitter.com/Comedy on Vinyl, and please subscribe to us on iTunes, rate us highly, and spread the word.
They might be giants, they might be brave, they might be washed, they might be Dr. Spock's like a man. To make the merry-go-round go fast so that everyone needs to hang on tighter just to keep from being thrown to the wolves. Tabloid footprints in your hair, tabloid footprints every